From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with your winter storm update here. We got a winter storm that's going to come in on Wednesday. This storm has really, as they all do, there's oftentimes, changes, tweaks, adjustments. And this one has definitely offered a lot of adjustments. I actually was on the forecast desk for the last, covering shifts for the last 4 or 5 days. And I've been, closely following this one, and just every day there's something different. So what I show you today, could change again. So there's still plenty of time for things to change. So anyway, this graphic here on the very first slide is the winter storm severity index. And basically all it's trying to tell you is how bad it will be from a impact or severity perspective. So the idea is that when you look at this, the idea of this graphic is, okay, where's it going to be the worst? Where will the impacts be the worst? And the impacts cover everything from hazardous driving conditions to power outages and that sort of thing. So, if you're basically north of Raleigh, over toward Roxborough, over toward Roanoke Rapids, that's where the snow impacts are expected to be the worst. If you're from Smithfield over toward Greenville, Goldsboro, up to Wilson, maybe a little bit southward, that's where we think maybe the worst of the freezing rain impacts will be. But as I pointed out, that has changed. So just make sure you're here with us for every update, because yeah, I've seen a lot of changes here in the last couple of days. All right, so real quick, I want to get right to the point here. Obviously, our confidence is increasing that we're going to be dealing with a winter storm. Basically, it'll come in on Wednesday, impacts lingering through Thursday and beyond. The greatest risk for heavy snow right now will be areas along the north of Highway 64, and then especially near the Virginia border from about Roxborough eastward, and that will include the northern I-95 corridor. Now, this is like most winter events, it's not just all snow. There's always a mixture and a transition line, and this is no different. There's going to be freezing rain, but that's going to be mainly to the south and east of Raleigh, with the heaviest accumulations of ice from the I-95 corridor south of Wilson. So if you know where I-95 is, think of Wilson southward, and east of that I-95 corridor is where we think the heaviest freezing rain is going to be. Again, consistent with what I just showed right here on this graphic. Okay. So anyway, and then of course, as always, black ice concerns the following mornings, Friday morning, maybe Saturday morning. And then of course, where the heaviest ice accumulates, there'll probably be a lot of snapped tree limbs and power outages. So be ready for that. All right, so again, this pretty much just elaborated in a different manner what I just laid out. Again, you have this in your inbox, or you could go to weather.gov/Raleigh, click at the top of the webpage to download these slides, but this is pretty much what I've already outlined in the previous slide. Let's get right to the bottom line. What is the most likely amount of snow? And this is our best shot right now. Again, if we'd be doing this briefing yesterday, I would have said the worst of it's going to be from the Triad over toward Roxborough. But now it's shifting east, and that's been the big thing I've noticed with this storm the last couple of days is the colder solution, which basically means the ice, instead of occurring along the US 1 corridor, is now shifted southward to basically south and east of Raleigh. And if the air mass is colder, then that better supports snow. And the warm air that comes in aloft, if that's more confined east of I-95, that's where the freezing rain would be more confined. And that's changed. That's shifted south and east. But as of since last night, the whole thing shifted east, both the ice and the snow, because the low pressure system is further offshore. I jokingly said to somebody, if it shifts offshore anymore, we may not get anything. So, while I was joking, and we're going to see something, if that trend were to continue, then amounts would be less. So anyway, that's why I say stay tuned. My confidence isn't particularly high with this, just because every day I've seen something different. Okay. And that's not unusual with winter storms rather, in the Carolinas. The models always have a challenge with that. So anyway, this graphic here pretty much self-describes areas from 64 corridor northward up near the Virginia border is going to get it the worst, the northern I-95 corridor. Now, when's this going to happen? Well, we'll see snowflakes as early as Wednesday morning. So, 8 a.m. Wednesday, there might be some flakes in the air, but we think we're going to have a 6-hour period where the worst of the weather is going to happen. A 6-hour period, very confined to basically maybe Wednesday afternoon through Wednesday evening is when we think the rates. How hard is it snowing? How hard is the ice freezing rain occurring? We think the greatest rates will be from, I can't give you an exact time, but let's say like 3 p.m. Wednesday through 9 p.m. Wednesday, basically afternoon through the evening. That's when it should mostly pile up. Whatever piles up, that's when it should pile up. So anyway, obviously as we get a little closer, we'll be able to nail down those times, those starts and end times. But just know that travel will become especially difficult and hazardous Wednesday afternoon as that initial batch really comes in and starts to occur. All right, now I always like to show these worst case scenarios because there's so many different possible scenarios. So what I just showed you was our official forecast, which we like to consider the most likely scenario. On the other hand, there's a lot of models that show it worse than our official forecast. Okay, so why not show the worst case scenario, right? This way you can say, all right, well, if the worst of the worst happens, how bad is it going to be? And this is kind of the worst of the worst right here. So, as much as 8 inches of snow up near the Virginia border to maybe 3 inches at Raleigh, and you can see the snow is pushed even further south. So, but still, the worst of it still would be from Highway 64 northward. Okay. All right. So again, you could take a look at this graphic on your own at weather.gov/Raleigh top news of the day and in your inbox if you're on our email list. All right. And then of course, ice, how much ice? I will tell you this, the models have shifted. The most recent models I've seen actually takes this a little bit further south and east of where we have it. Okay. So I wouldn't be surprised if our next forecast update shows this a little bit more south and east of what we have right here. But it can always shift back. I mean, again, these systems oftentimes offer us changes right up until it happens. So, but right now, this is our best scenario, best forecast, if you will. Again, along the I-95 corridor, mainly south of Wilson and east of there is where we think the heaviest ice is going to occur. If one of the warmer solutions occurs, yeah, there could be, a tenth or two of ice as far back as Raleigh and Sanford. But anyway, south and east of Raleigh, that's where right now it looks like the greatest risk for freezing rain ice accumulation will be. All right. Okay, so what about timing? Again, I kind of elaborated this already. The worst conditions in terms of the precip falling will be Wednesday afternoon and evening, okay, for both snow and freezing rain. Okay, so then of course it goes to say after that ice accumulates, that's when we think at night and during the daytime Thursdays, if your power is going to go out because of ice, it's probably going to happen Wednesday night after that ice has had a chance to accumulate. Okay. It's going to be cold. It always is cold in the days and nights after accumulating wintry precip. So obviously there'll be cold and wind chill concerns. And then the hazardous travel is just basically, more of a prolonged moderate impact event based on, again, those amounts I just showed you. All right. And then again, I'm not going to read every one of these boxes because again, you have these slides available to you, and this kind of elaborates a little bit more what I just outlined. But suffice it to say, precipitation will begin on Wednesday. It'll be worst Wednesday night into the early hours Thursday. And then once we get to Thursday morning, it's basically just dealing with the impacts. One of our forecasters here today who's working on this event, just before we started this webinar, told me that some of the newest data is suggesting that a very brief period of additional snow may occur during the morning into about midday Thursday as the upper low moves across. So there may be one more opportunity for a burst of snow after daybreak on Thursday. So we will work that into our briefing for the afternoon update. Okay, so But that's sort of brand new in the guidance. Yesterday's guidance didn't show that as much. So anyway, just want to make you aware of that. Okay. And again, just kind of, this is the same slide I showed at the very beginning. So again, conditions going downhill on Wednesday, the worst of it Wednesday afternoon through evening. Greatest risk for heavy snow, the northern half of the state, basically from US 64 northward, particularly along the Virginia border from Roxborough eastward. Freezing rain, mainly south and east of Raleigh, and somewhere in that freezing rain area is going to see a 1/4 inch of ice, which will result in some downed trees and power lines. So be ready for some power outages. Again, if you're south and east of Raleigh, some of the models have that ice all the way to the coast. So, that is a possibility. Okay, so, be ready again for tweaks to this forecast. And again, the lingering if I can get my tongue untwisted here, the lingering black ice concerns for Friday morning and maybe even Saturday morning. Okay, so our next emailed briefing will be, it won't be at 6 o'clock, it'll be before 6 o'clock. So that's why I say by 6 p.m. This evening. We're going to do another live webinar just like you're sitting in here for now at 11:30 tomorrow morning, unless something drastic changes. If there is a change that's drastic enough where I think I need to do one this afternoon, I will get that out, notification out by email. And if the link that you use, the email that you clicked on to join this, if I do add another one, it will be automatic. You'll automatically get that heads up and notification email from GoToWebinar. Okay, but if I don't, if there's nothing major change, I'll do another one of these same time, same place tomorrow morning. But you'll definitely get fresh slides by 6 p.m. today. So that is sort of our schedule. And I'm going to stop the recording right here.